Part 29. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 281. My little friend, seeing you fighting bloody battles with international hot money makes me really ashamed. Huo Dong picked up the teacup and toasted Li Cheng. Today's confrontation is not thrilling, but the transaction volume of Xiangjiang Telecom alone reached more than 4 billion. This has never happened before in the Hong Kong stock market. I just tried my best, Mr. Huo, please stop flattering me. Li Qing smiled and sipped his tea. The current situation is not good for Xiangjiang. You must know that the strength of international hot money is very strong, and Li Qing can't resist it for 2 days even if he spends almost all his cash flow. The central funds will arrive the day after tomorrow. We just have to wait until the market closes tomorrow. Huo Dong said softly. In fact, he was very embarrassed to say this. He knew that the New World might not be able to hold on anymore. But there is no other way. Now we can only hold on. As long as the central funds arrive, people like myself can retreat. After a moment of silence, Huo Dong gritted his teeth and said, little friend, I still have some funds here, why don't I transfer them to you first? Li Qing waved his hand, no, I can still hold on for now. In fact, Li Qing moved the batch of gold. The batch of gold from the eight-faced Buddha and old man he had been transported directly to South Korea a few days ago and handed over to Mao Xianmin. He asked Mao Xianmin to use gold as collateral and borrow a large amount of funds from the Bank of Korea. If nothing unexpected happens, it will not be a problem to survive until tomorrow. Huo Dong nodded. In fact, it was difficult for him to use his funds. After all, he had to hold on to HSBC Holdings, and the selling of HSBC Holdings by international hot money was also going on. It's just not as intense as Xiangjiang Telecom. The two of them looked at each other, their eyes full of determination. Tomorrow is a crucial day, and they must guard it. On the 21st, the rain turned cloudy. The war without gunpowder has started again, and the two stocks that people in Hong Kong care about are still shining green. Everyone started cheering. The green stock was like a flag, which was the belief of all Xiangjiang people. As long as the flag does not fall, Xiangjiang Financial will not fall. The hearts of people in Xiangjiang also began to become firmer. Thailand has fallen, Southeast Asia has fallen, but Hong Kong will not fall. Old Man Suo can sweep away the wealth of Southeast Asia, but he cannot take away a penny from Xiangjiang. Come on, Hong Kong Telecom. Come on, HSBC Holdings. Shareholders shouted loudly at the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. The shouts are like battle horns, and today's war has once again begun. International Hot Money Temporary Headquarters. Today, Old Man Suo is personally in charge, staring directly at the two stocks. As long as he can capture one of them, he will win. Sell 50 yuan and 50 million shares of HSBC Holdings. Unexpectedly, Mr. Suo did not take action against Xiangjiang Telecom again, but instead took action against HSBC Holdings. 50 million shares were sold, and the stock price of HSBC Holdings fell instantly, but it quickly rose again. Huo Dong ate them all, and the whole audience cheered. When Li Qing saw this scene, he was also worried for Huo Dong. The transaction volume was 2.5 billion. It seems that Huo Dong is also ready for today's decisive battle. Later, Old Man Suo successively placed tens of millions of shares, all of which were steadily taken by Huo Dong. However, the price became higher and higher, and Huo Dong gradually became unable to bear it. The capital of international hot money is too strong, and it has purchased a large number of stocks from securities companies before. Not to mention other stocks, they have made billions of Hong Kong dollars on Hong Kong Telecom and HSBC Holdings in the past 2 days. Immediately sell 60 million shares of Xiangjiang Telecommunications stock for 90 yuan. I want to see how much he can take. Old man Suo smiled. The purpose of selling HSBC Holdings first was to prevent Huodong from lending funds to New World Financial. The main purpose is to make excuses in the East and attack in the West. Li Qing was still paying attention to the news of HSBC Holdings, but he didn't expect that old man Suo caught him by surprise. The rapid fluctuations of Xiangjiang Telecom affect everyone's hearts. Mr. Li, the amount was so huge that the stockbroker's hands were trembling. Eat. Li Qing said firmly. Xiangjiang Telecom instantly returned to green, and stock investors began to cheer again and continued to cheer for the two stocks. Mr. Li, there are not enough funds. Fang Zanbo said with an ugly expression. Apparently the funds borrowed from South Korea have also been exhausted. How many more? Li Qing frowned, pursed his lips tightly and asked. Less than 200 million. The entire conference room fell into deathly silence, and everyone present was muttering in their hearts, are we going to lose? Old man Suo on the other side of the world laughed heartily. Now Huodong did not dare to lend funds to New World Financial. According to his estimation, the New World's money is almost gone. As long as you are selling the remaining 40 million shares, the other party will be unable to support you. As long as Hong Kong Telecom is captured, HSBC Holdings will not be able to sustain it for long, and the Hong Kong stock market will be completely captured. Sell the remaining shares of Xiangjiang Telecom, stud. Old man Suo said with a smile that he was sure to win this round. He was extremely excited at the thought of being able to sweep away the wealth in Xiangjiang. As an international metropolis, Zhangjiang's wealth was no worse than that of Thailand. His name will become louder and his subordinates will gather more hot money. Mr. Li, the other side sold another 40 million shares of Xiangjiang Telecom. The stockbroker said quickly. How about borrowing some from Mr. Huo? Fang Ting asked quietly. Li Qing shook his head. Huodong couldn't squeeze out much money, and he still had to guard HSBC Holdings. If there was really no other way, he would have to transfer funds from Hemin, but this would defeat Li Qing's original intention. At this time, everyone in the stock exchange was looking at the stock of Xiangjiang Telecom motionlessly, and they also found that this time was different from the past. In the past, stocks fell and then rose within a few minutes, maintaining an upward trend. Now the stock has fallen several points and has not responded, which makes them very anxious. It's rising. Move. Come on. Rise quickly. The stock investors cheered for Xiangjiang Telecom in a low voice, but there was still no movement. The hearts of stock investors began to sink, and it seemed that they really couldn't hold on this time. Everyone's energy began to wane, and they sat slumped in their chairs and looked at the screen listlessly. Huodong, who was on the opposite side, also began to worry. He wanted to lend funds to Li Qing, but he was also afraid that old man Suo would make another attack. If that was the case, he wouldn't be able to stop him. At this time, Li Qing in the conference room sighed, "Call Xiao." Bang. A knock on the door interrupted Li Qing's words. Mr. Li, Mr. Zhang seems to want to see you. Mr. Zhang, Li Qing tilted his head and repeated, not remembering who was coming. Haha, Boss Li, don't mind if you come uninvited. A man came in smoking a cigar. Li Qing's eyes narrowed, it turned out to be him. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Bulletin Liang. Chapter 282. Li Qing looked carefully and found that it was Zhang Sheng from Xing. He immediately understood Zhang Sheng's intention. Since the return, Xing has split up a large number of black industries, and a large number of funds and personnel have been concentrated in the entertainment industry. Although the profit is less, at least there is no need to worry about being liquidated. Now Zhang Sheng came so timely, just to show that he is firm in his position. "Oh, Boss Zhang, long time no see." Li Qing greeted him with a calm smile, pretending to be confused. "Boss Li, let's not beat around the bush. Many people know that New World is now competing with international hot money. I came here to help you, and it can be regarded as doing my part for China and Hong Kong." Zhang Sheng chuckled, biting the word China very hard. In fact, there were many voices of opposition within Xing when it decided to intervene in the financial defense battle in Hong Kong. But this time he still overcame all objections, because compared with icing on the cake, it is better to send charcoal in the snow. Moreover, if he intervened in the battle to defend Hong Kong's financial sector, Li Qing would definitely remember his favor, and the country would also remember his actions, which could be described as killing two birds with one stone. He believed that as long as Shinji did not commit suicide in the future, he should not be included in the cleanup. Good. Boss Zhang is righteous, and the other party will know about this matter. Li Qing clapped his hands and smiled. Zhang Sheng showed his goodwill this time. No matter what little thoughts he had, he was 100 times better than those who were indifferent. Zhang Sheng understood what Li Qing said. No matter what the result was, his actions proved that he supported the country. Let's not talk too much. Time is urgent. Boss Zhang, please transfer 4 billion Hong Kong dollars. Zhang Sheng was stunned. Good guy, although he was fully prepared, he couldn't help but shudder when he heard 4 billion. Okay, right away. Zhang Sheng knew the seriousness of the matter and did not dare to delay. He immediately called someone to transfer the money to the account of New World Finance. At the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, everyone in the exchange stared at the stock of Hong Kong Telecom on the display screen. Time passed by minute, and the solemn atmosphere made people breathless. It's over, the funds behind the crocodiles are cut off. International hot money is too ruthless. No one can hold on by selling so many stocks in an instant. I estimate that the transaction volume just now exceeded 4 billion Hong Kong dollars. 4 billion? 5 billion. If we do this, Hong Kong will be finished. The atmosphere of pessimism and despair enveloped the entire Hong Kong Stock Exchange, and everyone hung their heads. But their eyes still looked at the display screen from time to time, hoping for a miracle. The numbers suddenly jumped. Some people rubbed their eyes, and some looked at the display screen in disbelief. Then the numbers jumped violently, and the color changed from red to green. It's green, it's up, ha ha ha. Awesome, Xiangjiang will win. Ha ha, hold on, hold on. Unlike the dull atmosphere a few minutes ago, the Xiangjiang Stock Exchange has become a sea of joy, with people jumping and laughing. Although the battle is not over yet, as long as the two stocks don't fall, they are determined to win. Huo Dong saw that Xiangjiang Telecom was out of danger, clapped his hands loudly, and laughed at the sky. Good, good. If New World really retreated, Huo Dong would blame himself for the rest of his life, and he would not have the face to see Li Qing again. International Hot Money Temporary Command Center. What did you say? The last 40 million shares of Xiangjiang Telecom were eaten up. For the first time, SLS doubted his judgment. It stands to reason that the other party no longer has the ability to buy the remaining stocks. But now he is powerless because the stock market has closed today. Li Qing was relieved until the stock market closed. Tomorrow, a large amount of central funds will arrive, and his mission is completed. Cheers rang out in the conference room, and everyone put down their burdens. After all, this battle was really difficult to fight. If it weren't for the 4 billion Hong Kong dollars that Zhang Sheng brought in the end, I'm afraid all the previous efforts would have been in vain. Haha, Boss Zhang, thank you this time. Zhang Sheng smiled and shook Li Qing's hand. You're welcome to contribute to the country. But did things really go as they expected? The next day, Central capital brought a large amount of capital into the Hong Kong stock market, and the situation of the Hong Kong stock market improved greatly for a while. Huiguo central funds have begun to enter the stock market. SLS groped his chin and muttered. But he was not discouraged. This situation was not unexpected. He had already arranged the next plan. Haha, but it doesn't matter. Now we continue to start with the exchange rate and suppress the exchange rate of the Hong Kong dollar again. As long as the Hong Kong dollar depreciates, the 33 constituent stocks that have just climbed will fall. He smiled sinisterly. It has to be said that SLS's move was really vicious, not to mention that they still had a large number of futures short orders. As long as the Hong Kong exchange rate was impacted, the futures short orders alone would make them a lot of money. According to SLS's instructions, international hot money began to attack Hong Kong's exchange rate market. A steady stream of Hong Kong dollars poured into the exchange rate market, causing the Hong Kong dollar exchange rate to fall and the Hong Kong dollar to depreciate in a short period of time. International hot money began to hoard Hong Kong dollars a year ago. Faced with this situation, no one would be able to do anything. Impact the exchange rate, short the stock market, and make profits from futures short orders. Short the stock market, accelerate the depreciation of the Hong Kong dollar, and acquire high-quality industries. And so on. It is because of the strong funds of international hot money that they have too many choices to make. The foreign exchange market, stock market, and futures market suddenly changed, which no one expected. At this time, Huiguo Central Capital had no choice but to stabilize the stock market first. But they did not want to give up Hong Kong's linked exchange rate system, and they were caught in a dilemma for a while. Meeting room of New World headquarters in Mongkok. Brother, the Hong Kong dollar continues to depreciate now, and the Hong Kong telecom we bought will sooner or later become waste paper. Fang Zanbo was sweating profusely, but he had no way because he could not control the exchange rate market. Li Qing frowned and looked at the information Fang Zanbo handed him. Zhang Shen, who was sitting next to him, saw Li Qing's solemn expression and gritted his teeth and said, "Boss Li, if it doesn't work, I will transfer another batch of funds." Shinji cannot be compared with New World. Yesterday's 4 billion Hong Kong dollars has already stretched him to the limit. Even if he takes more, he can't take out much. Li Qing shook his head. Now it's not a question of how much money there is, it's that Hong Kong people have lost confidence in the Hong Kong dollar. The central funds have arrived, but it still hasn't restored Hong Kong people's confidence in Hong Kong's finance. Li Qing pointed out the problem incisively. Because of the depreciation of the Hong Kong dollar, it is estimated that many people have followed suit and exchanged for US dollars. This shows that SLS's strategy has worked, and there will be a chain reaction in the stock market and futures market in the next step. Li Qing rubbed his painful eyebrows, and he found that he seemed to have entered a vicious circle, always following SLS's thinking. Always being pulled by the nose by him, even the countermeasures are to deal with SLS's moves. SLS is indeed a genius, Li Qing sighed. Li Qing stared blankly at the nameplate on the table, Li Qing, President of New World Group. After a long time, Li Qing slapped his forehead hard. I diamond suit am a gangster. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Bulletin Liang. Chapter 283. Why should I start a business war with businessmen? This is not in line with my identity. He finally remembered his identity, the talker of the largest society in Hong Kong. Zhang Shen was startled by Li Qing's actions and thought he was crazy. An unnatural look flashed across his face and he moved a chair back a few meters. But another problem posed in front of Li Qing. Old Mansuo was on the other side of the world, not to mention that most of the top bodyguards around him were retired from the special forces, and the success rate of assassination was basically zero. Even if he takes action in person, I'm afraid he won't find a chance for a while, not to mention that he has little power in the beautiful country. The most important thing is that there is no time. How can we build Hong Kong people's confidence in the Hong Kong dollar? Li Qing thought silently. After thinking about it for about 5 minutes, I finally came up with a solution. An idea flashed in my mind: why the hell do I need to build Hong Kong people's confidence in the Hong Kong dollar? Just let the people of Hong Kong lose their confidence in the US dollar. Counterfeit money, Li Qing muttered quietly. Yes, it's counterfeit money. But it's not a super perfect dollar bill, it's an old version of the dollar bill that will be eliminated by the new world. Super perfect dollar bills have not yet appeared on the market. Even if it is distributed in large quantities, people will not be able to see it, and it will not achieve the effect Li Qing wants. In fact, Li Qing's purpose is very simple: even to use a large number of counterfeit banknotes to impact the exchange rate market and affect the US dollar exchange system. Think about it: what would a Hong Kong resident think if he exchanged Hong Kong dollars for US banknotes, but the US banknotes turned out to be counterfeit? One or two can't produce any effect, but what about thousands or tens of thousands? A large number of counterfeit US dollars are flooding the currency market. Will people still trust US dollars? Of course, it is impossible to trust the Hong Kong dollar, which has depreciated to the point of losing its value, let alone the Japanese yen, Korean won, and ruble. These are all linked to the US dollar system. There is only one currency that is the strongest, and that is China's RMB. Although Mr. Suo spread rumors of RMB depreciation some time ago, the RMB has remained strong and has not depreciated at all. Therefore, RMB will become the only choice for people in Hong Kong. Without the people in Hong Kong following the trend and exchanging US dollars, there wouldn't be much trouble just relying on the Hong Kong dollars in the old man's hands. At this time, the phone on Li Qing's desk rang, and Li Qing picked up the phone with a calm expression. Hey, little friend, have you noticed that in the exchange rate market, it seems that international hot money has begun to launch a new round of attacks on the exchange market? Huo Dong said anxiously on the other end of the phone. There was nothing he could do about old man Suo's attack on the foreign exchange market, because he had bet almost all his funds on the stock market. Mr. Huo, don't worry, I have a solution, Li Qing said with a smile. Ah. Huo Dong didn't believe that Li Qing would have a solution at all. You must know that Central Capital has no good solution yet. Don't worry, I know what's going on. Huo Dong looked at the busy microphone and muttered to himself, little friend Li Qing, are you crazy? Haha. After hanging up the phone, Li Qing smiled and walked into the next room to contact Xiao Ma. Crow scratched his head and looked at Li Qing's back strangely. Big brother must be crazy if he can still laugh at this time. Is your elder brother crazy? Zhang Sheng glanced at the crow in horror. He now had the urge to urinate and escape. You are crazy. My eldest brother is wise. If you can't speak, just speak less. I don't think you can guess what my eldest brother is thinking. Crow glanced at Zhang Shen with disdain. You are so presumptuous. After all, I am also the talker of Xinji, the second largest social organization in Xiangjiang. I have made Xinji develop smoothly in the past few decades. Zhang Shen blew his beard and stared at the crow and said, how many years did it take my eldest brother to develop New World into the largest society in Hong Kong? Crow rolled his eyes. Don't be ridiculous, let's get back to your outrageous things. Li Qing entered the inner room and dialed Xiao Ma's phone. Hey, pony, now you are starting to print the old version of counterfeit US dollars. Remember to make old ones. Li Qing said directly without waiting for Xiao Ma to speak. And it is specifically specified to make old counterfeit banknotes. Most of the US dollar bills circulating in the market are old banknotes, and it is easy to see through brand new banknotes entering the market. Ah, brother, old banknotes? Nowadays, major customers no longer buy old banknotes. Now printing large quantities of old banknotes may be unsaleable. Xiaoma asked cautiously as he didn't understand Li Qing's instructions. That's right, I think. Li Qing told Xiaoma what he was thinking. After hearing what his elder brother said, Xiaoma was also very excited. He never thought that one day he would be able to contribute to Xiangjiang. This idea is really great. Brother, don't worry, we will act immediately and use our full strength to ensure that we will not disappoint the people of Xiangjiang. Xiaoma said, patting his chest. Li Qing. Due to time constraints and the time required to make old banknotes, the counterfeit banknote team had to work overtime. But everyone on the team was in high spirits and looked very proud. Counterfeit banknotes that smell like ink are full of patriotism. 2 days later, the foreign exchange market in Hong Kong was still as sluggish as ever, and the stock market was also affected. After a small increase, there was a decline. Xiangjiang, a black market, currency trading point. Major banks in Hong Kong have restricted the exchange of US dollars, so some people in Hong Kong come to the black market to exchange them. Although the ratio is higher, it is better than holding Hong Kong dollars that have been depreciating in their hands. No, bald guy, your US dollar bills are fake. A gentle middle-aged man with black-framed glasses took out a few US dollar bills from a stack and shook them. You, Four Eyes guy, are you kidding me? Everyone knows that I have a good reputation and have never had counterfeit bills. You actually said that I have counterfeit bills here. Do you want to die? The bald guy pushed Four Eyes guy and said fiercely. The quarrel between the two quickly attracted a crowd of onlookers, most of whom came to exchange US dollars. When they heard that there were counterfeit bills, they all surrounded him with concern. Bald guy, you didn't even look at it, how do you know it's not? Yes, at least take a look. Well, prove it yourself. The bald guy heard the voice of the crowd and glared at Four Eyes guy fiercely. He pulled the US dollar bills from his hand and carefully identified them. The bald guy touched the US dollar bills, looked at the watermark, and then looked at the ink carefully. His face became more and more ugly. He didn't notice that someone had mixed in counterfeit money. Everyone looked at the silent, sullen bald man, as if he realized something. He quickly took out the US dollars he had exchanged and carefully identified them. Damn Akiong, you actually exchanged counterfeit money for me. You lecher, I'm so cold, how come there are counterfeit money in the US dollars you exchanged? Oh, bald man, don't even think about running away today. My money, so many counterfeit money. For a while, the black market was filled with all kinds of shouting and cursing. In fact, it's not their fault. The old counterfeit US dollars made by the New World counterfeit team can't be identified without careful identification. Especially in terms of touch, there is no difference from the real US dollars. Such things not only happen in one point, but also happen in major black markets in Hong Kong, and they are in an explosive trend. The whole Hong Kong is full of counterfeit money. To put it bluntly, the number of counterfeit money even exceeds the real money, which also leads to fewer and fewer people in Hong Kong exchanging US dollars. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Banwanqing Bulletin Liang. Chapter 284. The senior Chinese financial executives who came to Hong Kong sat in the conference room with gloomy faces. Is the stock market still in a downward trend? Asked one of the senior executives. The staff on the Hong Kong side nodded, except for 33 constituent stocks, all other stocks are in a downward trend. What he didn't say was that these 33 constituent stocks could only be stabilized with the help of central funds. Can the Hong Kong foreign exchange market be stabilized by using RMB? Another vice president asked, touching his chin. He knew that if the Hong Kong exchange rate was not stabilized, the stock market would definitely be turbulent. Everyone in the conference room was silent. Everyone knew that the exchange rates of most countries were pegged to the US dollar. Unless the US dollar depreciated or people lost confidence in the US dollar, it would be impossible to shake the foreign exchange market. As for RMB, after all, it had just returned not long ago, and Hong Kong people still had some concerns. The conference room was quiet, and everyone bowed their heads to think about solutions. Ding-ling-ling, the urgent phone rang, and the head of Hong Kong Finance answered the phone. Expressions of confusion, astonishment, great joy, and thinking. In just a few minutes, the expression on his face changed several times. Even after he hung up the phone, he still looked unbelievable. Everyone looked at him and was curious about what he said on the phone. "Don't sell the lawsuit, hurry up," someone laughed and scolded. The exchange rate of RMB against the US dollar in the Hong Kong foreign exchange market has increased. Everyone was caught off guard by the news. They never expected such a result. Even the central financial personnel scratched their heads. Could it be that the quality of the people in Hong Kong has been so high? Everyone is optimistic about the future development of China. Although it is a good thing, everyone is still uneasy, wondering if international hot money is playing tricks. Are they planning to move to the Magic City? The abrupt voice sounded, making everyone think wildly. Don't think about it, first check the specific reasons, so that you can have a clear goal. Guessing here will only make yourself confused. The senior executive said in a deep voice. The Hong Kong staff quickly contacted the foreign exchange market staff and asked them to find out the reason for the appreciation of RMB. After receiving the news, the Hong Kong foreign exchange market staff quickly launched an investigation and found the specific reasons within just 2 hours. You mean that the people of Hong Kong took the initiative to exchange RBM, causing the RMB exchange rate to rise? A group of people said in disbelief. The news reported by the staff in Hong Kong made everyone feel like a fairy tale. The staff in Hong Kong hesitated. He didn't know whether he should tell the news he got, but finally decided to tell it. The reason for this situation is that a large number of counterfeit US dollars appeared in the entire Hong Kong area, causing the people to temporarily lose confidence in US dollars and turn to exchange RMB. Damn. From the exclamations of the crowd, you can see how surprised they are. You mean someone in Hong Kong deliberately distributed counterfeit US dollars? The senior executive seemed to have not heard clearly and asked again. The staff in Hong Kong nodded firmly. How many counterfeit US dollars are there on the market now? How can they impact the real US dollars? Some people still don't believe it. The number of counterfeit US dollars on the market has now exceeded the number of US dollars, and they are still appearing in a steady stream. I believe that in a while, 7 out of 10 US dollars will be fake. If this is the case, then SLS will have no chance of success. Stabilizing the foreign exchange market, the stock market has central funds to support it, and Hong Kong will definitely win this battle. Okay, I don't know who did it, although the means are different from ordinary people, but it does work. Now urgently transfer a batch of RMB cash from China. Hong Kong should increase publicity, not only to let Hong Kong citizens know that the market is full of counterfeit US dollars, but also to publicize the strong RMB exchange rate and enhance people's confidence. The top management thought for a moment and quickly issued instructions, and various departments in Hong Kong began to cooperate closely. For a time, various media in Hong Kong were full of publicity, and the influence of the counterfeit US dollar incident continued to expand. At this time, SLS was smoking a cigar and looking at the Hong Kong foreign exchange report with a gloomy face. Damn it, where did all these counterfeit money come from? Why is the Hong Kong government so inactive? They actually let counterfeit money run rampant. SLS slammed the information in his hand on the table, and the loud noise startled everyone. They haven't seen this genius lose his temper for a long time. What actually made SLS angry was that the other party's method made him miscalculate. Which normal person would think of using counterfeit money to disrupt the currency market? As for the foreign exchange market, he had no other choice for the time being, and could only bet his last treasure on the stock market. That is, he would fight openly with China's national capital in the Hong Kong stock market, and everyone would be happy if he won. If he lost, he would quickly transfer funds to make up for the losses in Hong Kong in the yen, won and ruble. This time, SLS also had his own selfish motives. He wanted to explore the details of China. If he found out something, it was not impossible for the Shanghai Stock Exchange Index in Shanghai to rise. At this time, Li Qing was sitting in the office, drinking tea with Huo Dong, looking calm and composed. "My friend, don't tell me that you didn't do the counterfeit money thing. This is really a stroke of genius." Huo Dong raised his thumb and said to Li Qing. Except for Li Qing, no one else could do this. First, they didn't have the conditions to forge. Second, they all cherished their reputations. After all, counterfeit money is illegal. But Li Qing did protect Xiangjiang finance by illegal means, and his contribution is indispensable. Mr. Huo, all roads lead to Rome. No matter whether the cat is black or white, the one that catches the mouse is a good cat. I am a side job, what should I worry about? Li Qing smiled and handed Huo Dong a teacup. What a side job! I really hope you can do more side jobs like this. Huo Dong sighed. Li Qing told about Zhang Sheng at the right time. Wow, so that's the case. The situation was so dangerous at that time. This Zhang Sheng is a patriot. After all, 4 billion can't be spent in vain. The message must be passed on. As for the attitude of the country towards him, Li Qing can't care too much. My friend, now according to the shares, you have absolute control of Xiangjiang Telecom. Don't sell it. Huo Dong's eyes flickered, pointed to the ceiling, and said only 3 points. This is also a reward for Li Qing's contribution. Li Qing's eyes lit up when he heard this, and he immediately understood what he meant, and nodded with a smile. It seems that this is tacitly approved by the other side. Li Qing has made great efforts this time, and we can't let the people who do things feel disappointed, right? The two chatted about some family matters before Huo Dong said goodbye. After seeing Huo Dong off, Li Qing's face showed joy. He originally thought that the Hong Kong government would buy the Hong Kong Telecom stocks in his hands, but he didn't expect the surprise to come so suddenly. You must know that Hong Kong Telecom is the leading telecommunications service provider and leading innovator in Hong Kong, China in the future. It also involves a wide range of services such as fixed line, broadband, mobile communications, and media entertainment. With Hong Kong Telecom alone, Li Qing will be able to make back the money he lost this time in a short time. No, I'll get the money from Xiaomin tomorrow and send 4 billion to Zhang Sheng. Li Qing thought secretly in his heart. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Bulletin Liang. Chapter 285. Boss Li, why are you in such a hurry? Haha, you are too polite. You even gave me some interest. You are doing things for the country. This is setting me up for injustice. Zhang Sheng on the other end of the phone said haha. He didn't expect Li Qing to pay back the money so quickly. Logically speaking, the money should be paid back after the Xiangjiang government reacquired Xiangjiang Telecom. Unexpectedly, Li Qing was so generous and not only paid back the money, but also paid interest. Zhang Sheng secretly admired Li Qing. There are not many club bosses who are so particular in today's society. Boss Zhang, you are joking. I can't let you suffer any loss, right? I have already told them about this matter, so Boss Zhang can relax. Li Qing said with a smile. Zhang Sheng was also very happy after hearing the key words. He did not refuse and expressed his gratitude to Li Qing again and again. After saying a few more compliments, Zhang Sheng hung up the phone and sighed, "Li Qing is worthy of being a big boss in the new world. He is righteous and generous." The Hong Kong stock market has been turbulent in recent days, and the two sides have continued to compete in the Hong Kong stock market. Various moves are coming and going, and I don't know how many people around the world have been touched. Everyone is watching this financial defense battle in Hong Kong. On a new day, the stock market opened with a decline, SLS took the lead and the Hang Seng Index continued to fall. Immediately afterwards, central funds quietly swallowed countless selling orders, and the Hang Seng Index bucked the trend and began to climb steadily, rebounding 560 points before closing, with an increase of as much as 8.47%. It was also on this day that the Hong Kong government announced that it would officially enter the stock and futures markets. While maintaining the exchange rate, it would never allow international hot money to make money in stock index futures. At the same time, authoritative domestic media released a message: Zhangjiang's status as Asia's financial center will be ensured at all costs and will never waver. It demonstrates China's determination and once again undermines the confidence of international hot money. On the 28th, the clouds turned sunny, which was the day for futures delivery. The Xinjiang government, which has always played the role of a buyer, changed its normal behavior and stopped buying all stocks and futures, and took the initiative to short sell Hang Seng Index futures. New World Mongkok headquarters. Li Qing and Fang Zanbo are paying attention to the stock market. "Brother, the Xinjiang government's strategy has changed," Fang Zanbo said after thinking for a moment. Li Qing nodded. Although he didn't know the details, he knew that the central government seemed to want to set the decisive battle today. If it weren't for the lack of funds, he would have to follow the country's lead, whether life or death. International hot money quickly followed suit. In just 2 minutes, the Hang Seng Index fell sharply by 160 points, and futures fell by nearly 300 points. What they didn't expect was that the Hong Kong government turned around and bought a large amount of stocks and Hang Seng Index futures to recover lost ground. The international hot money represented by SLS was directly stunned by the Hong Kong government. However, after a short period of thinking, SLS decided to short the Hang Seng Index August contract at 7,500 points. In other words, 7,500 points is the life and death line in the decisive battle between the Hong Kong government and international hot money. The two sides began a decisive battle on 33 constituent stocks. International hot money already had very few shares of Xinjiang Telecom in its hands, and Li Qing steadily took it no matter how much he offered. In just a few minutes, tens of millions of stocks were sold by international hot money, and the Hong Kong government, with the support of central funds, directly accepted all the orders. In the 5 minutes after the market opened, the trading volume exceeded HK$3.9 billion, and in the morning, the trading volume exceeded HK$40 billion. Li Qing secretly smacked his tongue when he saw this. In the afternoon, the war was even more intense, with an average of tens of millions of Hong Kong dollars and US dollars worth fighting every minute. At this time, SLS changed its strategy and concentrated funds to launch an attack on HSBC Holdings. The Xinjiang government also responded calmly, and both sides pressed their chips here. Just to prevent HSBC Holdings from falling by 50 cents, the two parties spent 30 billion Hong Kong dollars. Because HSBC Holdings fell by 50 cents, the entire Hang Seng Index would fall by dozens of points. However, with the support of central funds, the Hang Seng Index and Futures Index have always remained above 7,800 points. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the closing bell rang and the Hang Seng Index Futures settled at 7,829 points, while the Hang Seng Index Futures settled at 7,851 points. It greatly exceeds the cost line of 7,500 points for international hot money. In layman's terms, If the Hang Seng Index is below 7,500 points, international hot money will make money. If the Hang Seng Index is above 7,500 points, international hot money will lose money. Xiangjiang fought off international hot money and successfully defended it. If the war to resist US aggression and aid Korea is the battle to build our country through military means, then the battle to defend Hong Kong's finances is the battle to build our country through finance. At the International Hot Money Temporary Headquarters, SLS sat slumped on the chair. This time, it failed to block the Hong Kong financial market. SLS can still bear this failure, but several other big names in international hot money have indeed suffered heavy losses. A group of people looked at SLS eagerly. Collect funds and attack the Korean market. The money lost in Xiangjiang must be recouped. SLS adjusted his mentality and continued to cheer up. This is his strength, he has a big heart that is different from ordinary people. I have to say that he found the right target in South Korea. South Korea's bubble economy has reached its peak and now only needs a needle to pop it. He firmly believes that he can definitely make a fortune in South Korea. It's finally over. Li Qing sighed. The transaction volume on the last day reached $79 billion. The confrontation between the two sides was exciting, but Li Qing felt that SLS was a little too big. Although he claims to be rich enough to rival a country, that is just a claim. Compared with China, he is still far behind. Yet, Fang Zanbo next to him also sighed. Compared with SLS, he, a stock market genius, felt a little ashamed. Crow, let Xiao Ma destroy the remaining counterfeit banknotes. Li Qing did not forget about the counterfeit banknotes and gave the order directly. Now that the financial defense war in Hong Kong has been won, those counterfeit banknotes are naturally no longer needed. It is best to destroy them. Even if they ship in the future, they insist on not shipping in Hong Kong. The next day, New World directly announced that it controlled Hong Kong Telecom, which surprised many people. Only then did they realize that the big crocodile who had been buying Hong Kong Telecom was actually New World Group. Almost all Hong Kong people have a better impression of New World. After all, they participated in the protection of the market and deserve the respect of all Hong Kong people. Only one person was extremely unhappy, and that was Zhang Sheng, the boss of Xinji. He smashed his beloved teacup in a rage. I was wondering why Li Qing paid back the money so quickly, it turns out he was waiting for me here. I even praised him for being righteous, what a righteous man. If he had a share in Hong Kong Telecom, he would probably wake up laughing in his dreams. He really didn't expect that the Hong Kong government would allow private holdings of Hong Kong Telecom. How sinister, you are worthy of being the one who made New World a multinational in just a few years. Zhang Shen became more and more angry as he thought about it, and smashed another teacup directly. What use do I have for you, you are so mad at me. Unexpectedly, his blood pressure soared, and he was hospitalized directly. Zhang Shen is hospitalized, Li Qing said in surprise. Well, it seems that his blood pressure is too high. Crow scratched his head, he also heard about it from his younger brother. Hey, people should exercise more and smoke less cigars and so on. Send me a fruit basket to show your concern. Li Qing sighed and shook his head. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 286. SLS turned its attention to countries such as Japan, South Korea, and Russia, and Li Qing and others were not idle either. In particular, knowing that SLS would attack Japan and South Korea, he had already arranged for Mao Xianmin and Lily to exchange a large amount of US dollars to prevent the depreciation of the yen and won from causing losses to their industries. But the situation in South Korea was more serious than Li Qing had imagined. Korean companies went bankrupt one after another, and the won continued to depreciate under the attack of international hot money such as SLS. Koreans could only watch their property depreciate day by day, with no way out. Many Korean chaebols also suffered heavy losses. Only the New World Circulation, New World Heavy Industries, and New World Department Store controlled by Mao Zedong not only did not suffer losses, but also took the opportunity to annex several related industries. Under Li Qing's instruction, Mao Zedong took over the long-coveted Shenyang Electronics from Shenyang Group at a very low price. The Kinmen Group also did not suffer losses in this catastrophe, and took the opportunity to subdue the entire Seoul gang. It can be said that Seoul has been beaten into a uniform color. In the north of the Taiwan Strait, although the territory did not expand, it also took the opportunity to take over the entire Taipower. It can be said that in this financial crisis that affected the entire East Asia and Southeast Asia, Li Qing not only did not suffer any losses, but also greatly developed his industry and power. The Asian map of the New World has begun to take shape. Secretly following SLS and making a lot of money, Li Qing ran back and forth between the two sides of the Taiwan Strait and Hong Kong for several months. Even though he was physically strong, he was a little exhausted mentally. "Ajin, where are you going next?" Li Qing rubbed his temples. Gao Jin heard his boss asking questions and quickly took out his notebook to look at it. "Brother, go to Java and then go directly back to Hong Kong." Li Qing nodded, "Then arrange it, it's just right to rest in Java." John Candon has basically completed the acquisition of Java's industry, so this time he just went to take a look, there is no specific matter. On the other hand, when Crow next to him heard about Java, he showed an excited look. "Java is good, but the women are a little ugly, not as beautiful as those in Thailand." During this period, he has been running around with his big brother, and he doesn't even have time to play with women, which really makes him feel very depressed. This time, he will make John Candon get some good stuff. "You are useless, you only know women, learn from Gao Jin." Li Qing laughed and scolded. Gao Jin has been with him day and night as a bodyguard for this period of time, and Li Qing has discovered several characteristics. As a soldier, Gao Jin is rigorous and meticulous in his work, so sometimes Li Qing also uses him as a secretary and asks him to arrange some unimportant itineraries. Gao Jin doesn't care much about women, which is exactly the opposite of Crow's love for women. "He is a fake monk, I don't want to learn from him." Crow shook his head like a rattle. Go Xiu has only one woman, which can be said to be loyal. "This Gao Jin is not close to women, I am afraid he likes men." Crow even had to walk more than 3 meters away from him, so that he felt safer. A group of people took a plane and flew from Wanbei to Java. The plane landed at the North Ba Airport in Riau Province, Java. North Ba is the capital of Riau Province. Riau Province is the province with the largest number of Chinese, and 60% of them are descendants of Chinese. John Candon had led people to wait outside the airport early, and saw Li Qing walking out of the airport with a group of people. He hurriedly ran up. "Brother." Li Qing looked at John Candon, who was tanned a lot, stepped forward and patted his shoulder. "Candon, tanned. Suffered a lot." "Indeed, this place is in the tropics, the ultraviolet rays are strong, and it is difficult not to get tanned. The environment is also incomparable to Hong Kong, it is simply a world of difference." "It should be, brother. You should stay for a while this time and take a look at the local customs here," John Candon said with a smile. Li Qing nodded and followed him into the car. Crow poked John Candon. Candon turned black. "Tut tut, miserable. Get lost." John Candon rolled his eyes at Crow. He didn't want to pay any attention to Crow, this funny guy. Everyone got in the car and looked at the environment of Biba City, and suddenly felt that there was still a big gap with Wanbei and other places. There were dilapidated sheds interspersed between high-rise buildings everywhere, and some locals were cooking lunch in the open air. "Brother, the locals in Java are very poor, Sometimes they can't even afford to eat. John Candon pointed at the locals begging on the roadside, and the passers-by next to him threw him a few coins. It is easy to distinguish between Chinese and locals. Li Qing can recognize them at a glance. Locals have sunken eye sockets, high cheekbones, dark skin, and thin bodies. Although Chinese are tanned by the sun, they are much whiter than locals, and most of them are taller and more robust. Brother, the situation of Chinese in Java is very bad. John Candon looked out the window and shook his head. Those beggars only beg from Chinese, and Chinese must give them money. If they don't, they will be robbed. Even if they call the police will favor the locals. And the Javanese government also legally. John Candon recounted the situation of Chinese in Java. Li Qing squinted his eyes and roughly understood the current situation of Chinese in Java after listening to John Candon's narration. In terms of nationality, restrict Chinese naturalization and increase the difficulty of Chinese naturalization. In terms of education, Chinese are not allowed to open Chinese schools, and the import and publication of Chinese books and periodicals are reduced. In terms of economy, restrict Chinese from participating in the automobile, timber, mining, port and other industries. But even so, most of Java's wealth is still concentrated in the hands of the Chinese. The Chinese's hard-working spirit and intelligence enable them to stand out in any industry. Since the Southeast Asian financial crisis, the lives of Javanese have become increasingly difficult, and the entire Javanese society is filled with hatred for the Chinese. John Candon shook his head. During this period, the number of Javanese locals who died in his hands has reached double digits. These people are very courageous and dared to even pay attention to them. It seems that some people are deliberately guiding the emotions of the people. Li Qing's eyes flashed with a cold light, and he said in a deep voice. How is the power development? Li Qing asked softly. It's very difficult. The main reason is that most Javanese believe in sections, John Candon said a little ashamedly. Before coming, he patted his chest and promised his elder brother Li Qing that he must plant the flag of the New World in Liaoning province. But now the progress is not very great, not because of the local gang forces, but because of the Javanese's belief. Li Qing nodded. He knew that things would not be so easy, so this matter would take time. The car drove into a large rubber plantation, and after about 5 minutes of driving, we saw the manor surrounded by high wire walls. Qian Dan, how come you made it look like Stanley? Crow looked at it and teased. There's nothing we can do. The people here are really dishonest. Zhang Qian Dan smiled bitterly. There have been many thieves visiting these days, but they were all buried under the rubber trees. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 287. The tall alloy iron door slowly opened, revealing the manor inside. Looking through the car window, there were many buildings inside. The luxurious villa in the middle was built by John Candon specifically for Li Qing. A group of younger brothers stood in front of the villa, all of whom were members of the New World who followed John Candon from Hong Kong. Brother! Brother! A group of people shouted at the same time. Well, brothers, you have worked hard. Li Qing smiled and greeted them, and then exchanged pleasantries with a few familiar people before entering the villa. Brother, you guys take a rest first. We will have a dinner party tonight. The brothers are very happy that you are here, and they all want to have a drink with you. Okay, I also want to communicate with them. Li Qing smiled. After John Candon left, Li Qing sent everyone to the room to rest. Only Crow and Gao Jin did not move, and they sat silently by the side. Li Qing leaned on the sofa with his face up and his eyes closed, but his heart was very uneasy. The situation of the Chinese in Java was very bad. I vaguely remember the Black May riot in my previous life, but I can't remember the exact time. Since I'm here this time, I have to protect my brothers. Crow, Contact Tian Yangshen to transfer a batch of arms, quickly, Li Qing ordered. I've been busy making money in various places in the past few months, and I almost forgot about it. It was only when I heard John Qiandan talking in the car that I remembered it. I don't know if it's too late. Crow was stunned and hurried to contact Tian Yangshen, even though he didn't know what his elder brother was going to do. In the evening, the whole manor was in full swing. One by one, the members of the New World were bare-chested, showing their hideous tattoos, and walking around with barbecue. They lined up to toast Li Qing with wine. Of course, Li Qing also took a sip of it, otherwise, he would be drunk in a few glasses. It's been a long time since the manor has been so lively, John Qiandan sighed. This manor was built from scratch by himself. He was very happy to finally invite his elder brother. John Qiandan took over 80% of the rubber industry in Liaonia province, far exceeding Li Qing's expectations. Brother, I'll toast you a glass. John Qiandan saw that the younger brothers who toasted him had left, so he came to Li Qing. Come on, Qiandan. Not bad, you can take over these industries in Java. I can see that you are serious. Li Qing picked up the wine glass, clinked it lightly, and drank half a glass of wine. Several people sat in the pavilion, looking at the barbed wire and high walls, and recalled the years in Stanley. Ajin, you don't know that the crows danced every day at that time, which made brother upset. You're still talking about me, John Qiandan, you stole my beautiful posters and masturbated, why didn't you say anything? It's a scholar's business, can it be called stealing? A group of people talked about the interesting things in Stanley, and Li Qing felt as if he had returned to the old days. He took out a cigarette, lit it, took a deep breath silently, and looked at the stars in the sky. Maybe there is a star in the sky called Ding Qing now? Bang bang, a huge sound of knocking on the door sounded. Suddenly disturbed, Li Qing's face flashed a trace of displeasure. Go and see, what's going on. A younger brother immediately ran forward to observe the situation. After a while, he came back to report, Brother Qiandan, people from the next village are making trouble. Li Qing frowned and looked at John Qiandan, who immediately explained in a low voice, Brother, a few days ago, people from the next village came to steal things from us with dirty hands and feet, and we caught them and buried them. These people in the manor followed Li Qing to fight all the way, and their work style was even more influenced by their boss. More than a dozen Javanese bodies have been buried in the rubber plantation. How many people are on the opposite side? Li Qing asked softly. About a dozen people. Call them in, I want to see them. Okay, big brother. Not long after, the younger brother brought a dozen dirty Javanese people to Li Qing. Java is a country that prohibits guns just like China, but the leaders held homemade guns and looked at Li Qing and others fiercely. What surprised Li Qing was that there were several young people who were obviously descendants of Chinese. Are you the owner of the rubber plantation? Let the people in our village go. The leader was about 40 years old, with dark skin, short stature but strong limbs. He looked like a person who often did manual labor. Li Qing sat on the sofa and tilted his head to look at him. Why did the people in your village appear in my rubber plantation? I don't know, you must let them go today. The man yesterday was my nephew. If you don't let him go, I will burn your house down. The leader shouted in half-familiar Chinese. John Qiandan looked at the newcomer with a sullen face. Damn, they had to come today to make trouble for him. You know, this was the first time his boss came here. If the others knew, they would laugh him to death. This time, he would definitely make a fool of himself. Crow was looking at John Qiandan happily with a look of contempt, which almost made him spit out blood. Li Qing ignored the leader and was very interested in the young Chinese. Are you guys Chinese? We are not Chinese, one of them said viciously. They finally married a local and became a son-in-law, which was considered to have gotten rid of the status of second-class citizens. How could they be happy when they were suddenly called Chinese? Hurry up and let him go, or we will burn your rubber plantation. Another Chinese young man helped. What, you still want to make friends? Let me tell you, they are all the sons-in-law of our village. They even changed their surnames. Don't expect them to talk to you. The leader looked at Li Qing with a proud expression. Li Qing frowned and glanced at several Chinese descendants with disgust. Want to find your nephew? Okay, I'll have someone take you there. Li Qing didn't intend to talk nonsense with this group of people, and pointed directly at these people. The boys took out their guns, turned on the safety, loaded the gun, and bang 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 killed several of the gunmen first. Then he slapped the others until the magazine was empty. More than a dozen people didn't react and fell directly to the ground, their blood soaking the surrounding land. John Candon waved his hand. Clean up, don't disturb Big Brother's interest, keep singing and dancing. Corpses were dragged down one after another, and the young Chinese man who was pressed at the bottom was still breathing. Save me, I am Chinese. Crow sneered and took out his pistol. Idiot, you know why my elder brother asked you if you were Chinese just now. That is your last way to survive. Go to hell, idiot. Bang bang. Crow didn't stop shooting until the barrel was empty. Like his elder brother, he hated these people who forgot their ancestors. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 288. The party was not affected by this incident, and even the blood stains on the ground were cleaned up. I'm afraid only a few vicious dogs raised in the manor and bones under the rubber trees can prove that these people have been here. Crow also danced to the music, shirtless, but he regretted that his dance friend Azza was not there, otherwise the atmosphere would have been even more lively. The party lasted until very late. In the next few days, Li Qing and others went to Jakarta, the capital of Java, for sightseeing. As the capital of Java, Jakarta, also known as Coconut City, is the largest city in Southeast Asia. It has a population of more than 10 million, and about 800,000 Chinese live here. At night, in downtown Jakarta, in the most luxurious bar. It's nice here, much better than Biba. Crow said excitedly as he looked at the striptease girl on the stage. Li Qing smiled and looked around. It was worse than the bars under the New World, but it was already a good place. It's just that the quality of the women is a bit poor. Even if they wear foundation, they can't cover the dark skin on their faces. Yes, but it still can't be compared with Xiangjang Sushma, the boss of the largest gang in Jakarta. D, who was accompanying him next to him, said with a smile. As a major arms dealer, Li Qing is respected by gangs in Southeast Asia. As soon as Sushma heard that Li Qing had come to Jakarta, he hurriedly came to meet him. Li Qing and Sushma are also old friends. Sushma often goes to Xiangjang, so the two meet frequently when they are in Xiangjang. This time Li Qing came to Jakarta and he wanted to entertain him well no matter what. Li Qing and Sushma talked and clinked glasses from time to time. Through Sushma, Li Qing also had a general understanding of the situation of the entire Javanese gang. In fact, except for a few big cities such as Jakarta, the gangs in other places were only small scale and not large scale at all. Even 2 or 3 people dare to call it a gang, they are just small fish and shrimps. Gao Jin sat at the bar not far away, ordered a glass of beer and drank slowly, but his attention was always focused on his boss. This handsome guy? Are you Chinese? Gao Jin frowned, smelled a smell of perfume, and turned to look at the woman speaking in Chinese. He saw a woman wearing a low-cut dress with a deep career line, but Gao Jin didn't care, glanced at her, and ignored her. The woman didn't show up either. She sat next to Gao Jin, took out a lady's cigarette from her bag and put it in her mouth. Is there a fire? Gao Jin glanced at the woman's face. The woman's face showed fatigue that could not be concealed by makeup, and there were slight bruises at the corners of her eyes. He took the lighter out of his pocket and put it on the table. My boss smokes a lot, so a lighter is a must. The woman picked up the lighter. Hey, zip, and it's a limited edition. Why don't you buy me a drink? For the sake of being Chinese. Gao Jin frowned and said, give her a beer and charge it to my account. In order not to let the woman bother him, Gao Jin ordered her a glass of wine. The two of them were drinking wine alone, smoking cigarettes and drinking wine, and were silent. Until the woman drank all the beer in her glass, sighed, silently picked up her bag, stood up and left. Gao Jin heard the sound of high heels disappearing in the distance and ignored it. But after more than 10 seconds, the woman's scream made him frown, and he saw the door of the bar. A short middle-aged Javanese man held the woman's hair and hit her with his fists like raindrops. Everyone around looked like they were watching the excitement. It seemed that this was not the first time. Gao Jin hesitated for a moment, then stood up and walked to the door of the bar. You stinky bitch, you haven't made any money. You are just as disobedient as your stinky bitch mother. Now I don't have any money to buy flour. The man's face was roaring with a ferocious look, and his hands kept moving. The security guard at the door watched the show with a smile. Hey, why don't you care? Gao Jin glanced at the security guard. Guest, how do we deal with people beating their own daughters? They come every few days, and they get beaten when they don't make any money. The security guard spread his hands. He was just a small security guard. Why did he take care of so many things? Moreover, he heard that this man had some relationship with the gang. Gao Jin looked at the woman who had been beaten and fell to the ground. He couldn't hold it back and kicked her with his leather-shoed feet. The Javanese man who hit someone was kicked out, his back hit the wall violently, and then he fell heavily to the ground, motionless. Gao Jin picked up the woman on the ground, walked into the bar, and put her on the unoccupied sofa. Thank you. The woman held her belly and turned pale, but she still endured the pain and thanked her. Who was that? Your father? Why did he hit you? After all, he is from RMJFJ, and Gao Jin despises this kind of bullying of women and children. My name is Xiaowan, and that is my stepfather. My biological father died 30 years ago. Xiaowan lowered her head, and Gao Jin couldn't see the expression on her face. Then Xiaowan began to tell her life experience. During this period, Gao Jin clenched his fists, his expression turned livid, and veins popped up on his forehead. It turns out that Xiaojuan's father died in the September 30th incident 30 years ago, when she was only 1 year old. A group of thugs broke into her home and brutally killed her father and raped her mother. In order to keep her alive, her mother committed herself to the man who had sex with her. Xiaowan still remembers that on the night when she found a job and received her salary, her mother found some shoelaces and hung herself from the beam. She also escaped from the devil's home, but the devil didn't want to let her go and squeezed her hard, finding her wherever she escaped. Actually, I'm still okay. At least that devil didn't do anything to me. Some Chinese girls I met were even worse. Xiaowan sat up, enduring the pain on her body. You should leave quickly. That devil is related to the gangs in Yagadi. Don't get into trouble for me. Xiaowan was very kind. She knew that it would bring trouble to Gao Jin, so she supported her painful body and walked towards the door. Hey, don't you ask me what I do, Gao Jin said coldly. Xiaowan was stunned for a moment. Huh? What do you do? Gao Jin didn't say anything, but lifted the hem of his suit, revealing the pistol at his waist. Xiaowan looked up at Gao Jin. Police. Gao Jin. It's him who beat me. Damn, it hurts so much. The middle-aged man rushed in with several social elements holding baseball bats. Several people looked at Gao Jin viciously and were about to start. He's a policeman, how dare you beat him, Xiaowan said loudly. The gangster put down his weapon, looked at Gao Jin, and said with a smile, Excuse me, which bureau are you from? I don't think you are familiar with me. I'm not from the police station, Gao Jin said calmly. You dare to lie to me? Gao Jin's face was dark. He never said he was from the police station. Where did the word lie come from? Brothers, fight. A few minutes later, Li Qing and others who heard the noise also came over. Crow looked at the hooligans with their arms bent on the ground and smacked his lips. Ajin, you are so cruel. The hooligans lying on the ground were still stubborn. Damn, wait, we are from Feiyu gang. Li Qing and others looked at Sushma next to him at the same time. Sushma was also stunned for a moment. How can you be from Feiyu gang? Who is your eldest brother? Sangji. Sushma was very upset. Who the hell is Sangji? Sangji's boss is Kunwoo. When Sushma heard it, he knew that it was indeed one of his younger brothers, so he immediately called Kunwoo and scolded him. 15 minutes later, Kunwoo smiled and took his younger brothers Sangji and others to break the legs of the hooligans one by one. Xiaojuan's stepfather shrank his head and was about to sneak away when no one was paying attention. Hey, where are you going? Gao Jin brought the man to Li Qing. Li Qing told Xiaowan about her miserable experience and looked at Sushma expressionlessly. Sushma smiled awkwardly. This is the current situation in Java, and he can't do anything about it. Why keep such a person? Li Qing said coldly. Gao Jin pulled out the dagger from his waist and smiled in front of Xiaowan for the first time. I'm not a policeman, I'm a real gangster. Under Xiaojuan's horrified eyes, the dagger directly cut the man's throat. Gurgle gurgle, the sound of blood pouring into the trachea sounded, making Xiaowan feel cold all over. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Bulletin Liang. Chapter 289. Seeing the demon that she once feared so much, now like a pig or dog waiting for death, clutching her neck and twitching her body, Xiaowan felt a surge of joy in her heart. Thinking about how her biological father was killed by Javanese monkeys in this way, she felt that her great revenge had been avenged. Thank you, Xiaowan looked at Gao Jin and said. Gao Jin shrugged, don't thank me, thank my brother. Li Qing just smiled at Xiaowan, then smiled and scolded Gao Jin, you are obviously the hero who saved the beauty, but you have to blame it on me. After saying that, he shook his head and walked out of the bar. After this incident, he no longer had the interest to drink and chat. Gao Jin glanced at Xiaowan and followed her out. Crow hugged Gao Jin's shoulders from behind. Ah Jin, that girl is pretty good. Why don't you take her away? Can I have sex? Gao Jin rolled his eyes. Brother Crow, don't you like she-males? When Crow heard this, the smile on his face immediately stiffened, and he shouted to John Qiandan in front of him, John Qiandan, I'm in trouble, you big mouth, you say everything. A few people left chatting and laughing, leaving only the bodies on the ground slowly drained of blood. Xiaowan watched Gao Jin's back disappear at the door of the bar with complicated eyes. She sighed, picked up her bag from the sofa, and followed her out. In any case, the mountain pressing on me is gone, and I am free. In the next 2 days, Sushma took a group of people around Jakarta D, and also allowed Li Qing to see the Javanese attitude towards the Chinese. Except for a few Javanese who are friendly to the Chinese, most people hate the Chinese and believe that the Chinese have robbed their wealth and are capitalists who ruthlessly squeeze them. Walking on the street, you can even feel the Javanese's hostile eyes towards the Chinese. This situation is not good. The feeling given to Li Qing is similar to that of the Jews in Germany before World War II. No, the living environment is even worse than that of the Jews. At least the political power of the Jews is not weak. But now the Chinese have no political power at all in Java. A new day, early morning. Sushma arrived early at the hotel where Li Qing was staying. "Mr. Li, I'm afraid we can't go sightseeing today," Sushma said embarrassedly. "Yesterday, we agreed to take Li Qing and others to see the famous tourist attraction Jakarta di Cathedral." "Huh? What happened?" Li Qing also asked curiously. "Oh, college students are marching, seemingly demanding some political reform, a bunch of nerds who are so stupid from reading. Can this kind of thing be solved if there is a parade? It's simply whimsical." Sushma shook her head and scoffed. The scale of the college students' demonstration was very large. Traffic was controlled throughout Jakarta today, and the police were on the streets to maintain law and order. Li Qing straightened his body. "College student parade." He frowned. Although he didn't know why, he always felt something was wrong. He patted his head and couldn't remember the details. In his impression, Black May broke out across Java, but he didn't know exactly where it started. "Kyandan, contact the waterway and we will return to Liaoning province," Li Qing said in a deep voice. "No matter what, it's better to go back to Liaoning province first. After all, there are many brothers there and the security is high. And now the traffic control, the general method is probably inseparable from Jakarta D. Boss Su, prepare a batch of arms and ammunition for us. We need more bullets." Sushma was stunned when he heard this. "Mr. Li, isn't it? It's just a demonstration by college students. It passed in a day or two. It has not happened before." In his mind, it has become a routine to hold parades like today 2 or 3 times a year. In fact, Li Qing was not sure, but he was right to make plans in advance. "Next time, arms are 15% off." Li Qing looked at Sushma and smiled. "Okay, then I'd like to thank Mr. Li." Sushma immediately agreed with a smile. 15% off, how much money can you save? In just one morning, Sushma delivered the ammunition and thoughtfully asked his younger brother to fill the magazine with bullets. But most of them were rifles and pistols, not even a few grenades. "Boss Li, I still think you are too cautious. This is Yagadi. If I can't protect you, my life will be in vain for so many years." Sushma said nonchalantly that he felt that Li Qing, as the leader of the New World, was a little too cautious. But his thoughts did not last for an hour, because he received the latest news that martial law was implemented in Jakarta and 6 college students participating in the demonstration were shot. Sushma looked at Li Qing opposite him with a confused expression. At this time, Li Qing frowned. There was a saying in his previous life that Black May was actually plotted by Javanese high-level officials for a long time. First, because the wealth held by the Chinese was indeed coveted, but to divert the conflicts caused by the financial crisis. Stir up racial conflict. In other words, the Chinese are regarded by Javanese senior officials as consumables to stabilize the mood of Javanese people. No different than the Jews during World War II. "Qian Dan, when will the boat arrive?" "Brother, our own boat will be at Nick village next to the ferry port at about 11 o'clock in the evening." John Kyandan responded immediately, and he also saw the urgency in his elder brother Li Qing's tone. "Tell the others to leave on time at 7 o'clock in the evening." Li Qing closed his eyes and said in a deep voice. Regardless of whether Yagadi was the trigger or not, his current idea is to return to Biba as soon as possible. Wang Li is a Chinese living in Jakarta. He has been working hard in Java for decades. In the past few decades, 2 generations have turned a small grocery store into a small supermarket through hard work, which is considered to be a relatively large supermarket in the surrounding area. As usual, Wang Li watched the news in the store, and complained to his wife. "These college students are doing this and that all day long, which has caused us to lose business. I heard that 6 college students died today, alas." Wang Li shook his head, a little confused. "Can't we live a good life?" His wife was making small clothes on the side. Their child was due to be born in 2 months, and she had to prepare in advance. "If business is not good, close it early. Anyway, No one will come. His wife looked at him and smiled. Haha, every penny you can earn is a penny, otherwise how can you support you two? Wang Li looked at his wife lovingly. Suddenly, there were noises and cries from afar, which made Wang Li frown. He wondered what the Javanese were doing at this late hour. He simply stood up and walked out the door. Some Javanese were walking in the distance, holding torches in their hands, and they kept smashing and destroying the Chinese shops around. Wang Li was horrified when he saw this, and couldn't help but think of the tragedy that happened that year. Fortunately, there was still some distance from here. Wang Li immediately pulled down the shutter door, turned off all the lights, and hurriedly pulled his wife to run to the inner room. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Bulletin Liang. Chapter 290. This inner room was built by my deceased grandfather, who was afraid that a tragedy would happen again one day. At that time, Wang Li laughed at his grandfather for worrying too much, but he didn't expect that he would actually use it today. The inner room had not been cleaned for a long time, and there was a musty smell everywhere. The Chinese couple next door were in the catering business. When they heard the shouts from next door, it was obvious that the Javanese had rushed in. Here Wang Li could hear the shouts of the man and the screams of the woman. He knew what kind of pain the couple next door was suffering now. The woman screamed hoarsely, and Wang Li's wife buried her head tightly in his arms, her body trembling involuntarily, and her right hand tightly covered her bulging belly. Bang! The huge sound scared the two of them and shivered at the same time, biting their lips tightly and not daring to make any sound. Then several voices came from not far away. The woman next door was snatched first. I remember the boss lady of the supermarket is pretty, with a big chest. Hee, I think so too, so I always come here to buy things. Let's go, it must be here, look carefully, I can't wait. The voices coming out were all dirty words, and Wang Li's wife in his arms was so scared that she dared not move. The footsteps were getting closer and closer, and there was a sound of dong 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 going upstairs, followed by rummaging through the cabinets. Fortunately, the inner room built by Wang Li's grandfather was in a mezzanine, and it would not be found at all if you didn't pay attention. Where are the people? The voice suddenly sounded from the side. There was only a thin wall between the inner room where the two were, and Wang Li and his wife held their breath at the same time, fearing that the other party would find them. A shrill scream came from the store next door again. Damn, tell them not to play to death, damn, I haven't gotten on yet. The few people in the supermarket ran out in a hurry. Wang Li and his wife dared to breathe loudly, and soon there was another noise in the supermarket, as if they were emptying the supermarket. After a while, Wang Li suddenly smelled a burnt smell. Oh no, they are burning the house. Wang Li knew that if he didn't go out now, he and his wife would be burned to death here. He quickly helped his wife out of the inner room. Fortunately, they just lit a fire and left. Wang Li quickly took his wife and ran out from the back door. By the way, he called the police, but to his disappointment, the police station's phone was not connected at all. From the street, there were flames and screams everywhere. From a distance, young Chinese girls were insulted by Javanese people on the street. Every 10 meters or so, you can see injured Chinese or corpses falling to the ground. Some women's bodies were in a mess, obviously killed after being greatly insulted. Wang Li looked at all this in despair, as if the things in his childhood were repeating again. At 7 o'clock in the evening, Li Qing and his group were ready to go. Mr. Li, do you really not need my escort? Sushma asked again. Li Qing glanced at Sushma and shook his head. If Sushma was fine, who could guarantee that his younger brother would be fine? Thank you, no thanks, I'm leaving, take care. Li Qing waved his hand, got in the car, and drove towards the ferry port. But the scene along the way made Li Qing and others frown. Javanese mobs were burning, killing, looting, and plundering on the streets. A cold light flashed in Li Qing's eyes. Let's go back to Liania province. Everyone could only put down their anger and secretly fumble for the gun in their hands. It took about 20 minutes. Huh? Ajin, is that the woman you saved that day? Crow pointed to the woman running not far away and asked. How do you know? You can see clearly. Gao Jin squinted his eyes and couldn't see clearly. Just kidding, your brother Crow's eyes have always remembered beautiful women. Crow proudly pointed to his eyes. Everyone. Gao Jin carefully identified it, and it was true. Xiao Wan was being chased by several men with machetes. Brother. Gao Jin looked a little hesitant. Stop the car, save people, use a knife. Li Qing's words instantly made everyone alert, and they also knew that they should try not to use guns now, for fear of attracting the attention of the Javanese military. The car just stabilized, the door opened, and Gao Jin rushed out like a leopard. I'm not so active in eating normally. Did Ajin take aphrodisiac today? Crow said in a daze. He casually pulled out the dog-leg knife from his waist and staggered towards Gao Jin. Xiao Wan originally went out to buy some female supplies, but she didn't expect to encounter a Javanese riot, and there were scenes of Javanese killing Chinese people everywhere. Looking at the Javanese getting closer and closer, Xiao Wan was extremely desperate. Is what happened 30 years ago going to happen again? Bang! As soon as she turned around, she was hit by a man's chest, and she was so scared that she screamed desperately. Hey, get out of the way, don't block the way. The slightly familiar voice made her dazed. Is it him? Gao Jin pushed the woman away without any emotion, and grinned at the Javanese who rushed over. The dagger turned in Gao Jin's hand. You bastard, die. Facing the Javanese, Gao Jin did not retreat but rushed forward, directly into the Javanese's arms, and the dagger in his hand pierced the man's neck. Ugh! The man fell to the ground, covering his neck. Gao Jin's movements were very fast, blocking and slashing continuously, each knife hitting the vital points, and in a short time he dealt with several Javanese who were chasing Xiao Wan. This made the Crow and the others who followed him extremely disappointed. Crow had to take out his dog-leg knife and slash at the person who was still alive to vent his anger. Damn, you always hesitate when I ask you to go drink, but now you are quick. Crow looked at Gao Jin with contempt. Let's go, get in the car. Gao Jin's embarrassed look flashed across his face, and he didn't dare to respond to Crow's words, so he had to pull Xiao Wan into the car first. Others also got in the car. In the car, Xiao Wan, who had reacted, immediately thanked Li Qing and others. Little sister, don't thank me. It happens that Ajin is a single dog, you can promise yourself to him. Crow looked at Gao Jin teasingly. Xiao Wan looked at Gao Jin, blushed, and didn't say anything. Ahem, you are injured, bandage it. Gao Jin coughed, and seeing that the atmosphere was a bit awkward, he immediately handed Xiao Wan a roll of gauze. Injured? No, Xiao Wan replied in surprise. Gao Jin said coldly, you are covered in blood, and you say you are not injured. Xiao Wan was wearing a skirt today, and it happened that she was leaking blood from her period. In addition, she was running, and there was a faint trace of blood on her lower abdomen. After a long silence, Xiao Wan whispered, I am on my period. Everyone in the car. After a short silence, bursts of laughter broke out. Ajin, you are so humming talented. Gao Jin was so embarrassed that he could dig out a great wall with his feet. The laughter in the car temporarily diluted the solemn atmosphere.